The Cursed Forest. It was said that no one who entered the Gravenwood Forest after sunset ever returned. The villagers of Willow Reach spoke of it in hushed tones, passing down tales of disappearances and unearthly howls that echoed through the trees. To most, it was a place to be avoided. But for Nicholas Armitage, it was an irresistible mystery. Nicholas was an anthropologist who thrived on folklore and the supernatural. When he heard about the legend of the Cursed Forest, he packed his recording equipment and notebooks, eager to uncover the truth behind the stories. The villagers tried to dissuade him, warning him about the Watcher that guarded the woods, but Nicholas dismissed their concerns as mere superstition. On the evening of the autumn equinox, Nicholas entered Gravenwood. The air was thick with the scent of moss and pine, and the trees loomed overhead like skeletal hands clawing at the fading daylight. As he ventured deeper, the sounds of the forest grew quieter until there was nothing but the crunch of leaves beneath his boots. He set up camp in a small clearing, unpacking his equipment. As darkness fell, he began recording his observations, speaking into his handheld recorder. Gravenwood is unsettlingly quiet at night. No birds, no insects. It's as if the forest itself is holding its breath. A sudden rustling in the underbrush made him pause. He pointed his flashlight toward the noise, but saw nothing. Shrugging it off, he returned to his notes. Locals believe this forest is cursed, protected by an entity they call the Watcher. I'll be spending the night here to see if there's any validity to these claims. Hours passed uneventfully, and Nicholas began to feel foolish for entertaining the villagers' warnings. He leaned back against a tree, his flashlight casting long shadows across the clearing. Just as he was about to pack up for the night, he heard it, a low guttural growl. Nicholas froze. The sound was unlike anything he'd ever heard. It wasn't an animal, at least not one he could identify. Slowly, he stood and scanned the tree line with his flashlight. The beam caught something, a pair of eyes reflecting the light like mirrors. They were too high off the ground to belong to any forest creature he knew. "Hello?" he called out, his voice trembling. The growl came again, closer this time. Then a shadow emerged from the trees, impossibly tall and slender, its movements unnatural, like a marionette controlled by invisible strings. The Watcher. Nicholas backed away, his mind racing. The figure didn't move toward him, but seemed to grow larger, its shadow stretching across the clearing. Whispers filled the air, low and unintelligible, growing louder with each passing second. He clamped his hands over his ears, but the sound burrowed into his mind like 1,000 voices speaking at once. "Leave," the voices commanded in unison, deep and resonant. Nicholas stumbled, dropping his flashlight. In the dim light, he saw the Watcher's face, or what should have been a face. It was featureless, a blank slate that seemed to absorb the light around it. Panicking, he turned and ran, the whispers chasing him. The forest was a labyrinth, the trees shifting and closing in as if alive. Branches clawed at his clothes, roots tripped his steps, but he didn't stop. The air grew colder, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Finally, he burst out of the tree line and into the open fields beyond. He collapsed, his heart pounding like a drum. When he dared to look back, the forest was still. The Watcher was gone, but its presence lingered, heavy and suffocating. Nicholas returned to Willow Reach, shaken but alive. He tried to recount his experience to the villagers, but they simply shook their heads. "You're lucky you escaped," one elder said. "The forest doesn't let everyone go." He uploaded his recordings and notes online, hoping to find answers, but all he received were skeptics and thrill-seekers eager to enter the forest themselves. Weeks later, he heard the news. 2 hikers had gone missing in Gravenwood. Their campsite was found abandoned, their belongings scattered, and in the dirt near their tent, a single word had been scrawled: "Leave." Nicholas never returned to the forest, but he often dreamed of it and the Watcher waiting in the shadows.